Hey, good morning, everybody. Good afternoon, maybe. Good evening, maybe. I guess it really just depends where about you're located. And I know some of you may be U.S. and some of you may be otherwise. But thank you all for joining. Or if you're listening to this recording, thanks for listening or watching this recording as well. My name is Eric Schultz. I'm with Journey Alliance, and Jordan Roberts is here also with Journey Alliance. I always like to try to embarrass her just a little bit in the beginning, but she's the one that makes all this happen. So if you've enjoyed any of these conversations with panel members that we've had the opportunity to put together, Jordan's the one that puts all of this together. She takes time to get connected with people, get to know people. Some of these conversations come with a research report. It's not just us trying to advertise Journey. It literally is Jordan having had a bunch of conversations, trying to learn more about whatever the topic is, so that you, whether you're a business owner or a business leader, have the ability to make an informed decision. So Jordan, thank you for everything that you're doing and putting on this together for us. I gave her a heads up beforehand. So if for some reason the technology goes wrong, Jordan's in. So if you see a switch screen real quick and Jordan jumps in, it's either my technology went bad or I'm just messing with her and trying to see how she handled it. I'm just joking. I wouldn't do that. But Jordan, thank you for everything you're doing. But if you're listening or watching now, you're not here to hear me talk. You're here for Johnny, Tommy, and for Megan. And we are going to be talking about AI in construction. AI, of course, a lot of people are talking about it. A lot of people are using the AI word or term and probably incorrectly or having no clue what they're talking about. I'm kind of one of them in some ways. So the more we have conversations like we're going to have with Megan, Johnny, and Tommy, the more that I learn selfishly, and the more I hope that everybody that's listening or watching learns. Some housekeeping. So if you are listening or watching right now live, please go ahead and push any comments that you have, any questions or comments that you have. Yeah, Paul, Jordan is absolutely awesome. You are right. So I'm not supposed to watch the comments. Hold on. So push any comments that you have in there for us, comments or questions for Megan, Johnny, or Tommy. We're going to do our best to go ahead and ask them the questions as we go along. If for some reason we don't get to your question, we'll try to find a way to follow up with you. And if you're listening to this as a recording, feel free to reach out. You're going to get information for each one of them, especially at the end. You can reach out to them individually or whichever way they prefer for you to make contact with them. But without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and have each one of the panelists introduce themselves, give us that quick overview of who you are and what you're representing and what you're up to. I'm going to look at order of my screen. So I am going to go Megan, Johnny, Tommy. But Megan, if you don't mind, just give us a brief intro before we jump in.
Yeah, I'm Megan. I came from construction and I converted to construction technology a little over a year ago. Our software is focused on contract documents. And so that was my focus before I came to Document Crunch. So I've learned about AI the last year. And so it's amazing the things that this technology can do and the amazing things that it can do for your business. So I'm really excited to be here and just kind of share what I've learned and also hopefully share some good information for practical ways to really apply things to your everyday life.
All right. Thanks, Megan. Johnny, how about you?
Yeah. Good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining the session today. My name is Johnny Magzal. I'm currently the head of growth at Toggle AI. I've been in the company since like day -1. I say that because I used to work for one of the biggest construction companies in Florida right now, and this is where the idea of Toggle came up. We started the company back in 2019. We are basically a quantity takeoff tool that's modernizing how we do takeoffs, leveraging machine learning and AI to speed up the takeoff process. So I am excited for this conversation today.
Johnny, yeah, thanks for joining us. And Tommy, last but not least.
Yeah, great to be here, Eric. So I'm Tommy Vincent. I'm the co-founder and CRO of a company called Hub Analytics. We're leveraging artificial intelligence to automate financial reporting for small to medium-sized businesses, and we're leveraging AI to automate a lot of narration around your financials. So our software helps people understand where there's opportunities to get better margins in their business, where they might be overweight in some areas in their business from a financial standpoint, and helps them get lean and mean and drive more profitability for themselves. Before this, so we've been at this for a couple of years. Before this, my background is all technology and entrepreneurship. So I spent 15 years in San Francisco and worked for some companies like Grammarly and Microsoft and Dell and a bunch of other VC-funded companies in San Francisco. But we're really excited about what we're doing here at Hub Analytics now. And again, excited to be on the panel.
Yep, Tommy, thanks for joining us. So what I want to do is I want to ask you all the first question, and just from having had some of these conversations around AI in construction, there's a pattern to some of the conversations we've had. And the first question I really want to ask each of you is, what problem are you solving? And I know that sounds like a really basic question, but one of the things that I've been learning more and more is there's a lot of cool technology that's out there, but as a business owner or a business leader, the number one thing that I should be or they should be considering are, what are the problems or friction points that I have, and does this platform, this tool, this technology, does it solve that problem? And maybe it has an AI component to it as well. So if you don't mind, I'd love to just kind of go through that same order. I'll go Megan, Johnny, Tommy, and just give us that quick, what problem is whatever company you're representing solving?
Yeah, that's a really good question. And I'm glad you brought it up, because that is the focus. Really, AI is beautiful and great, but if it's not solving the actual problem you have, it really is only adding to your problems. But for Document Crunch specifically, we are solving problems around contract documents. It's hard to find information in your contract documents. It's very time consuming just to find the right information. And then on top of that, once you find it, especially in like a contract terms and conditions, it's very hard to understand it right away and organize that information so that it's usable for people who are trying to make decisions or execute on a project. So our process, so what we're solving is finding the information faster and making it easier to use so that people can do whatever their real job is, and they're not slowed down by having to go through the contract themselves. And so there's a lot of other framework besides AI that is built into our software to help speed up that process of information finding and making the information easier to use around these text-heavy documents that you need to execute your project.
Yeah. Yeah. And just, I think through our client base that we work with, and then what you're sharing, there is an overwhelming amount of information that it's exchanged by way of contract. It kind of comes with the territory when you're known as a contractor. There's likely a lot of contracts that are there. Mm-hmm. And so it sounds like you're just making working with those contracts more manageable and easier to access.
Exactly. It is making it accessible to people who don't, that's not, it traditionally has either been sidelined or been left to attorneys. But like you said, there's so much information about how you have agreed to do business with another company that is applicable both. You need to review it before it's signed, and you need to use it for the information that it contains after it's signed. So it never should go away, but it is there's so much that AI can do to make it easier to understand, faster to find, and easier to execute and do what you need to do, which is not always reading and understanding a contract.
Yep. Yeah, thanks for that. And so if anybody's listening or watching, just consider if you're in a world within your business where you're working with contracts, think about what questions you might have. If you've never really considered this to be a problem for yourself, maybe think about how much time and effort you are as an owner, as a leader, or maybe your team members are putting into the contracts, or think about maybe how much time you should be or they should be. That's not the exposure that you have because of that. And then if you would, please just drop in any questions or comments that you have, even if they're specific for Megan as we go, now that you have a better understanding of the problem that she's solving with Document Crunch. Johnny, if you don't mind, same question.
Of course, I would love to. So to answer this question, I will tell you, the idea of Toggle started from a pre-construction department where I used to work at. As estimators, we do so many things, but one of the things that we spend 70% of our time is literally coloring and tracing while doing the takeoffs, while we have a million other things like building relationships with subcontractors, coming up with VEs. There's so many things an estimator can do. But one of the things that was most annoying of the part of the job is literally coloring and tracing. So one of the biggest problems we solve inside Toggle is eliminating the coloring and tracing piece of the takeoff while keeping the control of the output of the takeoff in the hand of the estimator, because at the end of the day, there's so much of the knowledge is not on the drawings. Many times it's just in the estimator's brain. So we want to keep that control of the decisions of what type of spaces these things are, but the coloring and tracing piece is what we wanted to eliminate, and this is mainly what we do inside Toggle.
No, I appreciate that. And it's interesting, though, for you, that this was, when you had shared this previously, essentially kind of birthed out of a construction company. So there was definitely a need that was there. And it's probably a pretty realized need by most people in the industry. And then you, of course, have that background yourself, too, in working to solve the problem as well.
Yeah, no, definitely. And there is obviously a need for this in the industry, but there's also the tools that people are using now or have been using haven't really evolved since 1994. And this is what the market is hungry for. Modern takeoff tool, but also has some new ways of doing stuff with AI.
Right. Thanks for that. And then Tommy, same question. What problem are you all solving?
Yeah, definitely. The problem we're trying to solve is basically we're trying to democratize FP&A for small to medium-sized businesses. So if you look at, a Fortune 500 company who has armies of finance teams to help them pump out, accurate data, advanced reporting, and then get the thought leadership they need to be successful, those same resources really aren't available to small business owners. It just costs too much. You need a whole team of people, which is called an accounting department, and most small businesses can't really afford that. So what people end up with is, a good bookkeeper or maybe a couple of bookkeepers, and they're doing the best they can. What Hubby Analytics does is we work with people's bookkeepers, and we help automate three things. We help automate the accuracy of the underlying data entry. So making sure, because bookkeepers make mistakes like we all do, it's also highly detailed work. So we actually are kind of a safety net, making sure all the data entry is done correctly, so your accounting is done right, because garbage in is garbage out from a data perspective. And then we're automating two primary things. We're automating all the advanced reporting and KPI tracking, if whatever you want to track, custom KPIs, standard KPIs. But then we're also weaving in artificial intelligence to narrate the financial data. So we'll tell the business owner, like I mentioned in the intro, hey, your COGS is about 7% more than it was last month. And in particular, lumber is up. We noticed that the Chicago Mercantile Exchange is telling us to renegotiate a contract here based on climate, the current climate of the economics of it all. So we're bringing all of these kind of fresh ideas with AI to the business owner to help them get leaner, meaner, and just find more profitability in their businesses. And so we do all that at the fraction of a cost, right? So as compared to hiring an entire accounting team. So
that sounds pretty powerful. And I mean, just a question that came to mind for me, do you feel like the problem you're solving, but your solution is also a good tool to help maybe that newer accountant, senior accountant, or maybe even controller, continue to have awareness maybe that they don't have, and maybe learn some of the things that they could be paying attention to?
Yeah, 100%. So we are, there's a few, I think, value points for people that are in the accounting profession. So we can help kind of expand the reach of a sole controller, because oftentimes there'll be a controller at a construction company and their breadth of work is quite a bit. Their scope of work is a lot, and they're kind of drowning a little bit, and the work can suffer a little bit. And they're the first ones to know it, but this allows them to automate a lot of processes that they won't have to do as manually either. So that's one thing. The other thing is we actually work directly with a lot of outsourced accounting firms, and we're helping automate their client deliverables for their end clients, which are small businesses as well. So so we work a lot with the accounting profession for sure.
Okay. Yeah, thanks for sharing that. I'm going to switch gears, and this is a question I haven't asked anybody that's been on these panels as of late with us. And what I'm looking to have each one of you do is just to tell us a little bit about your ideal customer. And if you're listening or watching right now, the reason why I'm asking this, it's not because I'm trying to position each person on this panel to be able to give some type of a sales pitch to you, although there's nothing wrong with that. What I actually want you to do is listen for, is this you? Is this your company? Because most of us in the work that we do, I can even say myself included, I have a pretty clear picture, and likely each one of these panel members has a pretty clear picture as to who those customers are that really find a nice fit working with them and working with the offering that they have. As an example, from a journey standpoint, we know generally, someone's going to have 10 to 300 employees. Generally, it's an owner that's saying, hey, I tried to develop a team. I'm not quite getting what I want out of that team. Generally, they're a growing business, and they're open to technology because we have a hybrid model that's in person as well as remote. I mean, those are some basics for us that tell us that it's an ideal customer. And of course, we do a lot of work within the construction and field service industry. So that's a journey, but I just want to buy you all some time in case it wasn't top of mind for you as well. Just to tell us a little bit more about your ideal customer. And Johnny, if you don't mind, I'll start with you, and then Tommy, I'm going to go to you, and Megan, I'll go to you afterwards.
Yeah. Of course, this is something obviously it evolves with time as the company grows, right? Like in our case, but when we started out of a general contracting company, so we went after general contractors. But if you think about it, anybody in the world who does takeoff would eventually want to use a takeoff tool, right? So for us, anybody who does takeoff is a client, but also we need to, it's a big elephant and you're going to need to start with the toe of the elephant. So we focused on general contractors in the beginning, but then some subcontractor trades evolved that they were seeing value from Toggle very quickly, which usually means that they are open to investigate the cost of switching. So painters, flooring companies, insulation, any coating companies, again, in addition to general contractors, is what we are going after, like an ICP. But we also recently added some features where are resonating with mechanical and electrical subcontractors. But again, slowly we keep adding stuff. But currently what we are focusing on, as I said, is general contractors, painters, flooring, drywall, and any other coating. Like for example, concrete takeoff. We can do concrete takeoff, but it is a very detailed takeoffs. They need some new features that we are adding. But again, slowly we will be able to address a bigger market.
Yeah, no, I appreciate you sharing that. And so if you're listening, I think at least one of the things that I heard is, while you know who you're currently working with and solving the problem for, you're also open to other trades as well. And so just even in that, do you kind of identify which ones you're going to focus on based off of the patterns of who's coming to you?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, exactly. And there is also another factor of this. It's not only the trade, Eric, is if they use a takeoff tool, you will be surprised how many small companies, they still do takeoffs with a highlighter and a pencil and a paper. You see? So these, regardless of the trade, if they use Toggle, they're going to benefit from it. So for them, the cost of switching from the pencil and paper is very, very little, you see? So it's a mix between what tool they use, how big they are, and their trade, but the trade plays the biggest role, and then what tool they use is the next, and then how big they are is another level of the complication.
Yeah, that's helpful. So if you're listening or watching now and what Johnny just described, if that sounds like you, please drop any questions you have in there. Don't feel like if you have a question that it's a dumb question. There's the old cliche, there's no stupid questions. I think sometimes there is a stupid question, but that's another conversation. But all joking aside, there really aren't. So the question you're thinking right now could be a question that somebody else is thinking, whether they're listening or watching now, or might be something that they're thinking about after the fact and watching the recording. So any questions that come up for Johnny now that you have a better understanding, or as we go along with Megan and Tommy as well. But Tommy, same question for you as well. Who is the ideal client or customer for you all?
Yeah, Eric, I love these questions. These are great. The sales guy in me wants to just pitch away, but let's see. So our ideal customer profile is really small to medium-sized businesses. We define that honestly between, if your company's doing between $2 and $50 million in annual revenue, you're probably a good fit for us. Also going up to even up to 75 to 100 million, depending on the industry. Construction, we find, is best between 2 and 50 million. One other big qualifier for you is that if you are using QuickBooks Online or QuickBooks Desktop, we are currently only integrated into those two accounting information systems with plans to actually release NetSuite and Sage very soon here. But those are the ones we work best with. And then lastly, if you are, just looking to get better insights out of your financial data, right? Just get your financial data in better shape, perhaps. We often are working with companies and more so owners that are looking for some kind of an exit or potentially are doing some succession planning. We find that those kind of compelling events will get people to get their to focus on their financials a little bit more. They may be working with a private equity group or whatnot that wants to see better data. And so we see those kinds of things start to nudge people towards getting their financial house in order a little bit more. So anyways, that's usually who we work with.
Yeah. And what makes me think, what I'm thinking about as you're saying that too, with some of the clients that we work with, there's a pattern to sometimes incentive plans, bonus plans, or as they're developing a leadership team, they're starting to create more visibility for that leadership team. And any one of those potential triggers probably lends itself to that, oh no, I need to actually do a better job with understanding what my financials are saying for me so that I can present things or even make better decisions in those scenarios as well.
Well, yeah, that's a big factor actually, and that's kind of what we see. I would say the most. There's people who are looking to exit and succession plan, but ultimately, I think most owners, especially when they get to around 2 million, we have found that anybody under 2 million is still just has one goal: increase sales, and that makes a lot of sense to us. But once they get to that $2 million mark, they start thinking a little bit more strategically about their business. They start offloading some of the workloads to new management. And with that, they want to focus a little bit more strategically on the KPIs for each department. They're going to help them run most efficiently. So yeah, absolutely. That's a major factor. And that's why, our reporting is done on a monthly basis, tracking those KPIs day in and day out about how we're doing tracking against our goals.
Great. Yeah, thanks for sharing that. And let's go ahead, I guess, and round out the conversation as well. Or did I hit everybody already, actually, now that I'm saying that?
I haven't gone yet.
Hey, if you're listening or watching, I gave the panel a heads up. I won't give you all the details, but I'm a little tired right now. So if I slur my words, it's just coffee, I promise. And if I skip a beat with some of the panel members, I apologize in advance. But yeah, Megan, same question for you.
Yeah, I would say right now the people, our ideal customer are people who are reviewing their contracts and it's taking them a long time. They're having to outsource a lot to maybe external attorneys, their construction attorneys, but they know what they need to look for. They just don't have the time. So either because the contract review has either fallen on some of the higher up business managers and their time is really valuable and they need a way to speed up their review process. Also, companies usually it ends up being general contractors, but like a lot of specialty contractors too. If they have a legal team of about 1 to 3 people, chances are there's a lot of contracts to review and not a lot of time, and they're looking for help wherever they can get it. And then also too for project teams to kind of keep their contract focused resources focused on their processes. So ad hoc questions, one-off questions about their contract. There's a great resource there to eliminate that back and forth of emails and having people focused on contracts, keeping them focused on theirs and allowing project teams to focus on the execution and get the information they need from a contract with no barrier. So being able to kind of have that resource on the side that's always available and never gets sick and never has to, never away from their email. So that is kind of our sweet spot right now is people who know kind of what they're looking for in contracts and just need a way to do it faster.
Yeah. Good. Yeah. And so if anybody's listening, watching, with each one of these panel members having described who they tend to work with, even if that's not you, just keep in mind you have a great panel of people that can answer questions. It might be kind of on the fringe of what it is that they're working on. They may not be experts in certain areas, but they definitely know their clients, their customers, and their markets well. And if you're listening, you might be that person, and maybe their solution isn't what you're looking for, but they can help you understand how to find what it is that you are looking for. Megan, I did want to ask you a question. We had Paul here, I think, chimed in with a question for you about when using AI with contracts, any concern you have about crossing lines with legal advice or opening yourself or the business up, or maybe even the company that you're working with up to additional liability.
Yeah, so this is a lot of people's concerns when they hear AI and contracts, because I think especially like around a year ago, there was a lot of people trying to use ChatGPT to draft their contracts to save money. And again, that problem you're trying to solve, we're not trying to become your attorney. We're trying to give you tools to be able to do what you need to do on your contracts faster. And so really, there is a concern when people start trying to do that kind of thing for themselves, like draft language. If you don't know what good contract language looks like, you don't have a way to validate those results. And so you have to be so careful if you're trying to use any sort of form of any tool in substitution for a good construction attorney. For us, like in our case, it's a good construction attorney. So
Yep.
if a good construction attorney gives you some information, you have some experience reviewing contracts, there's kind of a line where you should recognize that this isn't the best tool for that. An attorney is the best tool for that, but this can help you. So there is a concern with crossing the line in legal advice when people are have the freedom to use general purpose, specifically large language models. They want to use it to do things like that. But in Document Crunch's case, we try to make sure it's the customer's baseline. We're not providing legal advice. We're just helping make your contracts easier to understand, and maybe also speeding up your own review so you can still do that evaluation, or you can put your standards in and evaluate against that. But there is a concern out in the free world. People can do whatever they want, but for our software specifically, we try to keep those guardrails up. So people are using their own standards and using their own attorney's legal advice.
Yeah. So it sounds like you're working, for lack of a better term, with the data set, but with the contracts that someone already has that hopefully have been informed by proper legal advice, and that business owner or that team, they can provide additional input or information, again, that hopefully is informed. It's really how they make use of what's already available versus adding to it.
Exactly. We love for you to get whatever standards your business has decided on, whatever you have worked on with your attorney. Use those. That's a way to get exponentially more mileage out of that advice and information that you already have. Just let us leverage what you already have. You don't have to, it's not gonna be a replacement for an attorney though.
Okay. Yeah. Thanks for that. Next question I'm going to have for all of you. And we had in a previous panel, we had someone ask us in the chat how they get started. I mean, they just felt like they were kind of at this place where they weren't even sure where to go. They understood that AI could help them do something with their business, but they weren't sure what it meant and where to start. And then I think the other challenge that people have sometimes is they think about this idea of AI, and then they think about, I don't have the budget. Like, I'm not really sure what to spend money on. I don't want to waste money. And so maybe one of the hurdles is thinking that it's going to be something that's out of reach from an expense standpoint. Maybe it's a big business availability versus something that they would have. So really the question I have for each of you is, how can smaller companies or teams start using AI without a large budget or without a lot of resources? And resources that, might be the financial side, and it might also be the team member side. As an example, it might be that single controller and business owner. It might be that 1 or 2 person department. But yeah, if you could speak to that, and I'd love to just kind of go down the line there, Megan, if you don't mind. I'm going to go straight back to you. I'll have you start off, and then Johnny, I'll go to you from there, and then we'll keep rolling through from there to Tommy.
I think this is a great question, and I love that you brought it up, because so this is funny enough. This is a conversation I had with my husband. He's also in construction. He has a very small business, and I think it's really a good place to start. For me, my suggestion to him was, let's look at your work. Let's look at the work you're doing every day, and because immediately his brain goes to like, it went to, here's this complex, time-consuming task that I have to do. How can it make me do that? But really, if we look at like all the things you're doing in a day, for him, he's drafting these huge proposal documents. I was like, how much time are you? Let's look at all of the tasks that you're doing, not the total goal of your job, not the main important piece, but all that. My coworker calls it the sloggy work. The things that just take you a lot of time. When I was a contract manager, it was reformatting Microsoft Word. That took a lot of time, and really, they're not paying me to. Yeah. But it was something I had to do to accomplish the goal of redlining a contract. So if we kind of break down those steps and then kind of look, okay, what's something that there's a tool available, you can get the ChatGPT, you can get an account for your company so it's secure, and start there with the tasks that take you a long time, that maybe don't take all your years of experience to do, and kind of start there and see what kind of lift and, help other people too. I think that's a great way, everybody take a tool, everybody take a process that we all share, and, kind of experiment with it, and then find out what kind of return we're getting, how much time are we saving, and evaluate the tool that way. And then as you kind of take those tasks, those, sloggy tasks off, then you can start going, for me, the example is contracts, and evaluating what is the problem we're actually having around contracts. Maybe it's that our notices are taking too long, so our project managers aren't doing it. That's something our software does is, we can generate a notice based on the contract instead, and the event, instead of, as we start getting to more complex tasks, you can evaluate if there's other tools out there that already solve that problem. Because then when you get into like very complex niche tasks, that's when you got to, that's on you then. But there's a good stepped process that people just looking to experiment, look at those sloggy tasks first and see what that can free up for you. So that's where I think a great use case for a small business is kind of taking a better holistic look at all the work that you're doing.
Yeah, no, I think that's really great insight, and kind of like dipping your toe in the water. You mentioned as an example ChatGPT and the Teams version as an example. I know on the Journey side, we kind of jumped into different tools and kind of played around with them, and then just shared back and forth some of the things that we were doing. For me, admittedly, it really wasn't even as much the efficiency game. When I look at that from a budget standpoint, it had more to do with effectiveness. So if there's something I was getting ready to work on or jump into, it really helped me wrap around a topic or an area more quickly, and it gave me that jump off point to move into what I was going to move into as well. And so it makes it easier, to your point, for me to now consider other tools that might be more niche, or maybe even more expensive or more time consuming for me to be able to really implement, because I've seen some success in the smaller budgets or smaller amount of times as well. Mm-hmm. No, I appreciate that. So really, same question, Johnny, for you, and you can go a different direction with it if you want as but how can smaller companies or teams start using AI without the large budget or having so many resources available?
Yeah, no. As you said, Eric, I will take a little bit of a different direction, just a little bit from the psychology of what I hear, what people expect when they hear the word AI. People start thinking about like robots and Tom Cruise and some very sophisticated, smart people, and it needs a lot of data. This is what people hear. It needs a lot of data, AI, neural networks, like your brain works, all this stuff, and this is what really scares people. How I'd like to approach it is, I think again we discussed this, is don't worry really about the technologies. There's going to be a lot of vendors like the three of us that are going to spend a lot of resources to build a tool that solves a specific problem. So don't worry about the algorithms in the background, and don't worry about the data in the background, and don't worry about all the mathematical calculations that go into building an AI tool. Take whatever tools are in the market, take a trial, request a 1 month, 2 month pilot, whatever it is, and try the tool. If it solves the problem for your business, use it. If it doesn't solve it, don't use it. It's similar to, again, what we discussed last time about the credit card. When you go buy from your vendor, very sophisticated algorithm to trust the credit card with your vendor's machine, you really don't care about that. What you care about is buying your groceries, taking them home, and cooking stuff for the people you love. Let's treat it like this. Look in the market, go to Google, Bing, search for tools that have the keywords of what you are trying to solve. Reach out to these salespeople, let them give you a demo, use the tool, and if it does not solve a problem, don't even try it. Just move to the next tool. That's how I would approach it, because again, there's a lot of vendors like us, the three of us, that are getting a lot of funding or have a lot of funding to spend those resources on building the models, hiring sophisticated AI engineers, user interface, user experience. So let that be done by the vendor, and just use the tool as a tool.
Yeah. And if I kind of read between the lines on what you said, tell me if this makes sense. If I'm a business owner, if I have a construction company, or if I have another small business, and I think that this tool, this software solution, can help me solve my problem, I shouldn't be concerned at the start. I know this might sound ignorant about the budget, or about the resource need from a team, because if it's the right tool, if it's the right software, then it's going to solve my problem. It's going to fit my budget, and it's going to take into account the team that I have. And if I show up and if it's not that, then I should run away, because it's just a shiny object, or it's there to serve a different market than mine.
Exactly. That's exactly how I approach it. Again, the very blunt reality is that we are for-profit organizations. We're coming to try to take your business, take your money, right? Look at us as another tool, like there is the screwdriver, there's the power drill. Look at it, which one works for you for that part of your process, and approach it that way. And again, like, these tools are not very expensive these days. Like, for us, a license is $3,000 per year for the whole year. So it's not that big of an expenditure. You can get it in the hands of your people, let them try it, see if it works, and see how they feel about it. And then you can make more decisions. Yeah,
it's interesting. I had a client conversation yesterday, and we were talking about a problem that they were working on solving. And I asked kind of the classic, what is this problem costing you question in a given year? And they threw out the dollar amount. It was fairly large when they kind of considered what it might be costing them. And all of a sudden, when you think about the friction points that each one of you are trying to solve, the effectiveness you're trying to create, if someone really, as a business owner or as a leader, tries to quantify the gains that they might get, or the cost that they have, it makes it a little bit easier to consider what might be an investment, whether a lower dollar amount or a higher dollar amount. Makes it easier to consider that when you really think about what you're going to gain from it as well. So Tommy, same question for you. Just curious your thoughts on that. Smaller companies and teams that are looking at using AI, or maybe even looking at jumping in with you all, but they're concerned maybe about the budget side, or maybe about the team size.
Yeah, I think there's been a ton of great advice given by Megan and Johnny already. So a lot of what I'll say is echoing what they've said. I think from a psychology perspective, Johnny's right on. It's I think a lot of the headlines are taken by the open AIs of the world and the Microsofts, and it sounds like a big deal. But I would encourage people to think about AI similar to how you think about your smartphone. Making this thing is a lot of tech, and it's highly complicated. It requires a lot of engineering work. However, for us users, there's like a bajillion applications. Most of them are free, and you can start any day to do anything with any app, right? And AI is kind of the same. Yes, open AI and getting these neural networks going and the machine learning going is big tech and very sophisticated. But the application of AI is actually incredibly approachable. So I don't let those headlines scare anybody from dipping their toe in the water. There's a lot of free tools that you can use. The easiest one that comes to mind for me always is, of course, our own tool, but I would think more like something like Grammarly. I used to work there myself. It's a great solution. If you're doing a lot of long form writing, go in, get a free account and see if it makes your life easier. And I would also encourage people, don't get too hung up on estimating the costs of where you're spending your time before you dip in. That actually can be quite a lengthy exercise. Just trying free tools and see if it makes your life easier. It's pretty simple. And so I would encourage people to get curious, jump into the water and have a little fun with it as well. But I can tell you there are applications for AI for almost every workflow out there already today, it seems like. And if there's not, there will be very soon. So just get busy searching and trying some things out and definitely start for free, for sure.
Yeah, that's great advice, especially kind of checking in on some of the free tools that are available so that, the cost from a dollar standpoint really isn't the barrier. And then to your point on the time, not everybody tracks all their time. I do, but that's maybe just an odd thing. But no, does it make your life easier? So as you jump into a tool and you think it's going to help you make your work, your life easier, and if it does start to do that, then it starts to build that level of comfort, kind of similar to kind of Megan, what you shared, to say, hey, maybe I am willing to take those next steps into something else as well. Tommy, I'm going to leave you up on this next question here as we jump into it. And what should businesses do to ensure that the AI tools integrate smoothly with the systems that they already use? And this could be the technology systems you mentioned, QuickBooks desktop, as well as the online, if I heard you right. But when I think about systems, it might even just be the way that people go about doing business. So you can kind of go both directions, Tommy, for you, or Megan, Johnny, when we move to you as well. How can someone ensure that things integrate smoothly if they do start working with you and your tool of choice?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of meat to this question, actually, Eric. It really depends on what we're talking about, what tool, right? So if you are looking at a core operating tool for your business, like a CRM or an ERP, right? Customer relationship management, or your accounting software, ERPs and whatnot. Those are pretty core. And if you're going to go down the road of like ripping out and replacing a really key core piece of technology for your business, my honest advice is to get help. There's professional services firms, the software companies themselves should have professional services divisions that can help you integrate that. That's on the big side of things. However, on the kind of smaller kind of point solution side, I would just double check to make sure that they are based, that they have open APIs, and that they can integrate with a kind of a modern technology stack. The one advice I would honestly give to most business owners, though, is that I think in this day and age, you kind of really want to be cognizant of staying on a modern tech stack, because as you bring in new solutions into your business, it's going to be easier to integrate those things. The biggest challenge that I see for companies is what we would call like technical debt, where you're on a system that's 15 years old and you've been putting that off for a long time. That bad news doesn't get better with time, as we say. And honestly, if that's a big, hairy thing that you have been putting off, integrating new tech and bringing on things that are going to help you innovate is going to probably get harder with time. So that is some general advice I would provide to any entrepreneur out there. And sometimes there's no easy way to do it except for ripping off the Band-Aid and spending some time, investing time and energy into redoing some of those core systems so that you can start adding the peripheral systems much easier.
Yeah, no, that's really great advice. We've seen that firsthand with multiple clients where they might be hanging on to some type of legacy software system that is very integral with other areas that they may need to work down the road. And to your point, at some point they need to rip the Band-Aid off and make the changes. So that isn't necessarily going to go smoothly. It can go as smooth as everybody that's involved, and whatever smooth is defined as when you go through a major change. But just curious for you all with Hub Analytics, when you get set up with that business owner and maybe a team member or a team, how do you all integrate in a way that can help things go as smoothly as possible? Because you're dealing with something very personal for a small business, and obviously something very critical for them as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So there's two ways that, there's always kind of the people and the processes that we try to, and the tech that we separate out. For us working with our customers, the tech side is the easiest. I mean, we are, fortunate because so many people are on QuickBooks Online, and that's a pretty easy platform to integrate with. We integrate with just, extremely easily. And I would tell most entrepreneurs too, that most new technology is going to integrate pretty darn easily. It's that legacy tech that we already talked about that could be the issue. But for us, that's not an issue because QBO is so easy. So it takes us about 5 minutes to sync all the data. And it's pretty much the click of a button. After that, it's more about processes, and it depends on the company, right? Oftentimes we're just working with the bookkeeper and say, hey, how often are you doing the books? And tell us about how you're closing the books. And okay, well, once you go to QuickBooks and you close the books, then you log into Hub Analytics and you run this report and you click this button, and this is your new financial package for your business owner, right? So it's kind of working with those folks. And that's really pretty much it. It's pretty darn easy.
Yeah, no, that's helpful. Johnny, I guess same question for you. In your world, especially, how are you helping integrate so things go as smoothly as possible when you're working with a client?
Yeah, for us, this is also a kind of a very important business thing. I'll explain a little bit. We are focused on quantity takeoff, and estimators don't only do quantity takeoff. Down the road, there is like an estimating piece where you put the cost and the dollar amounts and things like that. So what we are trying to do now is we are working with other software vendors that are specialized in the estimating process for different subset of the market. So there is estimating tools that are focused on home builders, and there are estimating tools that are focused on commercial high rises. So we are working with these teams now to make sure that in the next 6 months to 2 years, Toggle will be able to communicate with all these estimating tools. And that way, our philosophy of becoming the most favorable quantity takeoff tool will still hold, where people would always love to use Toggle as the takeoff tool, but this tool will communicate with other estimating tools. That way, we don't stop their workflow, basically. So we have some partnerships that are already public. We are working with other partnerships right now to provide this integration. Again, it's just only the Toggle will communicate with this estimating tool. This is again a very important conversation depending on how core the tool is. Like Tom is saying, like a CRM is a core tool and it has to integrate. A takeoff tool, you can argue a little bit. We know that it has to integrate with an estimating tool, and this is what we are working on. But other than that, really, there is not much in terms of integrations for our side. But again, we are in talks with like 12 or 13 estimating companies that are popping up. And again, another point that Tommy made is they have to be modern tools. We are a takeoff tool that's on the web. If we are working with an estimating tool that is like on premise, it's not very feasible anymore to to integrate with them. So it's only now when estimating tools that are web-based are popping up. They are young like us, so usually 2 young companies integrating is not a good idea in the beginning. But we are working on it. This is where the industry is heading. This is where the trends are going. So we want to be there, position ourselves in the right timing, so we don't need to ride the wave. We can create the wave.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a connection, Johnny, with what you said, and Tommy, something you said, at least something that I recognized. I know for me, when I'm looking at a potential solution, I think it can solve a problem for me. I was looking at one just last week, and I started to dig into it. They weren't quite ready yet, meaning they were focused on certain integrations, but they still had this, coming soon. So Tommy, it might be Sage or whatever else is coming soon. And for Johnny, you mentioned there's some partnerships that are open and public, and there's some that you're working on, and that's important for me. So a solution or a software or a tool that not only is doing what it's doing now, but has that trajectory, that path forward. And I'll keep tabs on it myself. So any other business owners or leaders, if you're considering any one of these solutions, and for some reason it's not a fit now, or if you're considering another solution because it solves a different problem, I think what Johnny brought up, and Tommy really alluded to as well, is keep tabs on it, because if you get to know that software and you believe that it's a reasonably well run organization, from what you can tell, you believe that it has the capital or the investment to keep it moving, and if it's continuing to add those partnerships or connection points, it might just be that you wait 6 months for, or you wait a year for, whatever the timeline is, if it truly is the right software versus jumping into something that isn't necessarily going to keep up with what you need. Curious then, same question, Megan, for you. I'm really put you on the spot a little bit. I'm really curious about the people part and the world that you all operate in, from a systems integration. So when you all get set up with a new client, how do you help kind of navigate or get people on board or bought in or working with DocuCrunch? Do you find challenges in that, or do you find that it tends to be pretty welcome because it makes people's jobs or lives easier?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's the people and the problem. What problem are you trying to solve? And the easier you make the problem easier the solution is, the easier it is to integrate. I think that sometimes, what value are you, that time to value when you can get up and running faster. It's very attractive. And, we talk about things like integration, it is important to be, if that's important to your customers, if that's important to the people who are working with, like for us, with Document Crunch, it is, there is a frustration because this app fatigue, you're having to re-enter this information from system to system to system, and where can we reduce that? And that's attractive, so it's not necessarily that it's always that they have to, the goal isn't that, we can say we're integrated to say we're integrated. It's really that it's okay, well, now what is this doing? What benefit is this for the people who are using our software? And it's that, maybe they don't have to log into 2 apps now. They don't have to remember logins for 5 different applications, because it's coming together for them. It's reducing that time, reducing that just that app fatigue of having to go to multiple places. And I think that it all comes down to what's important, where are they working, what are they trying to accomplish, and meeting people what they're already doing. So
Yeah. I was laughing a bit when you brought it up. The number of times when I hear people, oh, not another this, not another tool, not another whatever it is.
yes.
But I think you bring up a really great point, though, is if the benefit of the tool, that the benefit of DocuCrunch or Document Crunch is going to actually outweigh that initial onset of, hey, this is another tool, then somebody will start to see, okay, this might be another tool, but yes, it's making my job easier, or maybe it actually helps me so that I don't have to log into this other one or this other two, whatever it might be.
Mm-hmm.
The value has to be there. I guess if the value's not there, someone's going to sniff it out pretty quick and say, yeah, it's just another thing that I have to manage.
Exactly. And that's the thing you'd like, the hope is that these tools that solve these very specific problems, we do, like Johnny was saying, we have a lot of, we know the workflows, we know our customers, we understand the challenges, like, just that idea that we want to minimize the disruption as much as we possibly can, because this is that's how you bring value, is you make things easier. And Tommy talking about even the smartphones, there's so much technology, but then you can kind of customize it and it can do what you need it to do. So I just think that there's so much there if you can reduce that time to value, and if integrations are what helps people, then yeah, we should definitely be, that should be on the horizon, and software, something you should be looking for in a software too.
Great. All right, so I'm going to have us round out. I'm going to have each one of you, if you don't mind, just give us that kind of final overview, how people can find you, get in touch with you, anything else that you want to land with. One thing I did want to say, just on behalf of Journey, we put these together, and by we, if you heard me in the beginning, Jordan puts these together. I just have to show up, but no, Jordan puts these together to be a resource for the business community that we work for. And so each one of these panel members has invested their time, given their time to be a resource for you if you're listening and watching. Obviously, they hope that you work with them, but if you listen, you recognize that they really were just trying to be a resource for you as you navigate this whole conversation around AI. We, on the Journey side, you can go to our website, and there's a resources part of our website, and you'll see just a culmination of these videos, whether they be panel events or other conversations that we've had. All those are put together for you as business owners or business leaders, so that we can be a resource for you. And you might see some commonality for some of these faces that are there, and just recognize that they truly want to help you be better, do better as a business owner, as a business leader, and be more successful in what you're in. You can find me on LinkedIn. Pretty easy to find. If you look at my name with Journey Alliance, you can find Jordan on LinkedIn as well. And then Mark Bazzuli, also a partner with Journey Alliance. You can find him on LinkedIn, as well as our website, which is Journey. Yep, there you go, -alliance.com. We did the dash thing you're not supposed to do, but we did it, so it's there. And then there's the resources page. But Megan, if you could close us out, and then we'll go Megan, Johnny, and Tommy.
Sure. Yes. Please look up Document Crunch if this is a problem that you're trying to solve. We are very passionate about it. So come test us out. Test and see, try, just give it a try. I highly encourage that. You're also welcome to connect with me on LinkedIn. If you want to just have a more casual conversation, you just kind of want to explore AI and the intersection of contracts, I'm always happy to nerd out about both of those things. So you can definitely find me on LinkedIn.
That's great. Johnny?
Sorry, I forgot I was muted. Same thing. You find me on LinkedIn with my name, Johnny Maxal. If you want to show Toggle to your team, give them like a customized demo, you can also go to our website, www.toggle.ai, request a demo, and let the people know that you came through Journey, and you can send my team your drawing so they can give you a customized demo. That way you can also see better if Toggle is a good fit for you or not. So yeah, there you go. The LinkedIn and the website, this will do the work for us. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Johnny. And Tommy?
Yeah, same as the others. You can go to our website. That's hub-analytics.com and request a demo. The message I'll leave people with is that you work too hard on your business day in and day out to let bad finance, bad accounting hold you back or be in the dark on. So running your business by the numbers is the most profitable way to run your business, and it also maximizes your enterprise value. So you work too hard, go to our website, request a demo. We'll show you around. No longer is FP&A for the Fortune 500. We can bring it in-house for a fraction of the cost. So give us a try. We're happy to go. And also you can find me on LinkedIn. I'm Tommy Vincent. Search that, and I'm sure it'll come right up. And excited to work with anybody that comes through.
Yeah, thanks, Tommy. And thank you, each one of you, Tommy, Megan, and Johnny, for taking the time with us. And I appreciate everybody that took the time to listen or watch now. And I recognize there's a number of you that are also listening and watching to the recording. So thank you. Any questions that you have, please feel free to reach out to anybody on the panel or myself included. Take care and have a good morning, afternoon, evening, or whatever the day looks like.
Thank you so much. Thanks, Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.